Hi, I'm Sarah Lacy.
And I'm Paul Carr.
And welcome to Why Is This News?
Welcome back.
I know, it's exciting to be back, isn't it?
It is.
You know, I'm a dork. Actually, I am really excited to be back.
Do you know what? You are a dork, but I'm also excited to be back.
So there was news today about Kevin Rose launching this new foundation.
Foundatio dot.
I'm calling it foundation because I don't want to spell everything out.
Yeah.
So you go there and you pay money to get videos about Kevin. What's interesting about this is, you know, Dignation was one of the first big Web 2.0 companies. Kevin was one of the masters of how to build a mass brand using the internet and translate that into company value. Some would argue his sort of geek celebrity is one of the biggest things of value at Dig. And now he's the one,
I would argue that,
trading this big public mass profile
for
an intentionally small, pay as you go, not make the money off of brand strategy. So I thought of you, since you were early on the cusp of everyone by trying to make themselves a celebrity is damaging the value of celebrity inherently.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. I think we're seeing people realizing that this idea of if you just get big, you'll suddenly become you'll make money just by scale. Like if everybody in geekdom has heard of you, then somehow money will flow. And I actually think Kevin Rose was an example of somebody who did prove that a bit.
How much of this do you think has to do with mobile? I mean, I wrote a piece in TechCrunch last week.
The oil company? Very little.
You really have just been in the UK too long. That's so not even a relevant brand here. So, you know, I wrote a piece about how this mobile web is being so shaped with an expectation you have to pay for stuff if you want stuff. And it's really built on a system which facilitates micropayments, whether it's your phone bill or it's the iTunes
Well, we've had this
store.
in Europe for a while. And now I'm really fucking thrilled. I'm really enthused about the future of media again. And I'm seeing lots of commentators who 6 months ago were saying publishing is dead, media is dead, everything else, going, oh, well, when I said that, I actually didn't mean because.
Well, I'm still not convinced it's not wishful thinking.
No, I'm not, and you know, there is definitely a trend towards free, but it's interesting, but it's interesting to see that since the iPad came along and since the Kindle came along, there is no assumption that ebooks will be free. Like it's almost like publishing books and is the first of the media that just managed to avoid this inevitability of free. Like the device came before the piracy for the first time, and we're seeing publishers be like they've just made it under the door in Indiana Jones.
They're not doing well. I mean,
no, but they're doing surprisingly well, and people no, but they are doing quite well. Like I talked to publishers when I was back in the UK, and then actually the ones
I don't think American publishers are doing well.
Print is not doing well, and
isn't that what we're talking about?
As well. No, so I'm not. I'm talking about ebooks. I'm talking about the fact that there isn't an assumption that an electronic version of something that used to be a physical product has to be free. People are paying for ebooks in large numbers, and people are paying for. Increasingly, not in large numbers yet, but increasingly are paying for magazines and subscriptions. And I think we could see, if not a complete reversal, certainly a turn in through portable devices. We're seeing people go back to paying for music. I mean, Apple sell a shit ton of music.
No, not really though. On a percentage basis, not. And that is my point, is that everyone...
We're never going to get back to the glory days.
about these technology things being the savior of media.
No,
look,
I'm not.
I totally believe that ebooks are going to be really, really beneficial for authors. I've always thought it was stupid that authors are jumping up and down about royalties or whatever their issues are, because frankly, we just need more people reading, and it's a way to instant purchase books. So look, I'm bullish on that as an author. I think that mobile really has created a new way to get around that everyone expects stuff to be free. Yeah. But I think it's just like several years ago when everyone said, oh, look, blogging is really working. We're going to have big, major, hundreds of millions of dollars media companies, modern media companies built up blogging. You have TechCrunch, which is the most successful, who I think safe to say sold for less than $100 million. Huffington Post is only now getting to profitability. I mean, even the biggest ones have not created big companies. I still think it's a rounding error.
No, I agree with you in terms of everything, but every company you've just said and every example you've just given was advertising supported. And what I'm saying is, what I think is happening now and what makes me as somebody who loves old media and loves publishing and loves newspapers and all that, what makes me enthusiastic is we are seeing a new... With the internet, there was always this assumption, and it was the fault of the people who built it, or who built the media companies, this assumption that, well, it's all about scale, it's all about being Kevin Rose on a big scale, and at some point
I think everyone said that. It's all about being Kevin Rose on a big scale. Back in the late 90s, back in the late 90s, the internet.
Certainly, yeah, exactly. The point being that people, there was this build it and they will come and they'll pay us somehow thing. With mobile platforms and with tablets and with smartphones and with iPhones and things like that and Kindles, there isn't that assumption. And I think what we're seeing is a new thing being built and a new platform being built where there isn't an assumption of free and where people have responded by being prepared to pay for things because they're paying for...
No, well, look, you've already made that point. I'm not arguing that point. I'm arguing, does it create big businesses? Because you're necessarily limiting the size of the audience. You're just getting a more certain revenue payment for that.
I think it will.
And I think when it comes to magazine and newspaper, in the offline world, those were never businesses that were paid for by subscribers.
Yeah.
The subscribers paid for the cost of getting the
I
thing.
agree. I think
there's a massive difference between books, and I think there's a massive... and video and newspaper.
The publishing industry is going to have to innovate and it's going to have to change, and they need to hire a lot more digital savvy people really quickly. But I think I don't think it will be destroyed. I think in 50 years' time there will still be a publishing industry in a way that I'm not convinced there will be a music industry or there probably will be a film industry, but there won't be a music industry because that's already been just fucked and destroyed.
Yeah, I think you've been in the UK for too long because you've come back with this bookish ivory tower attitude. You
call me an elitist?
Think book publishing has a better future than film or music.
No,
that is absurd.
Not print book, ebooks. Yeah, I think no.
Oh my God.
No, in terms of the industry.
This is such wishful thinking of someone who writes books.
No, in terms of the industry, I think I know, and I hesitated with film. I'm saying the music. Yeah, I think a musician can self-publish and will self-publish because they did a survey recently, and I'll put the source in the post because I can't remember it. But there was a very high-profile survey recently where they basically asked a bunch of music consumers, and bear in mind, music consumers are much younger and have much lower income on average than a book consumer.
No, the point of music is it's one of the most universal things.
But not in terms of who buys it. In terms of who buys it, it's massively a young person's game. And the survey was, look at all the songs on your iPad, all 5,000 songs on your iPad. What is the average price you would pay for all of these added together? If you lost your iPad tomorrow and somebody said, this is how much it will cost you to waste that, on average, the amount was zero. People did not associate music with value.
I'm not saying the current model works. I was the one just arguing a couple minutes ago that, in fact, most of it is still piracy.
Yeah.
But I think to say it is more certain there will be a robust book publishing industry than film or music in the future.
I didn't say film. I hesitated with film, but music I did say. And I honestly do believe that if we're calling it a book, ebook publishing, whatever it is, a block of words, 300 pages or so, that's sold for about between $3 and $10. I think there is a robust industry in the future, and I think traditional publishers will have to massively innovate. But I think you could still be a publisher in 20 years.
How is that different than the state of the music industry? They have to massively innovate too, and there's even more people who are going to listen to a song than read a 300-page book.
Weirdly, because I think publishing. I don't think people have got used to books being free. And I think we're now going to see all these new platforms coming along,
people
iPads and whatever else.
People also don't pay money to go see an author do a performance on stage in a coliseum. There are other ways to monetize.
No, I agree with you. I'm talking about the publishing industry, be it music publishing or... No, I agree with you. And I don't think we're going to end up with...
But that subsidizes it. How is that different than Wall Street trading subsidizing research? How is that different than
I'm just saying, if you're a music label, though... No, and the question is, will there be a room for a music label? And the fact is, most artists, or an increasing number of artists now... are organising their own live things because they know that they can. That doesn't need to be part of the publishing deal. I'm talking about the publishing and distribution. I'm saying people will not pay for a single track. People will not pay for an album. That ship has sailed.
I hope you're right, since I'm a writer and not a musician.
I know. Yeah, me too. I can't sing a fucking note. It's great.
Join us next week on Why Is This News?